the past. Yes, your girl been gone for a minute, but I'm back with the jump off. Goons in the back, case some jump off. Anyway, yeah, I've been gone for a minute, but I'm back. I got so much going on. We will get to that, but girl, this is my passion and my purpose. So we got to get take care of that first, and then we can get to what's been going on with your girl. Okay, so what it is, you guys, it is your girl Cadillac. Yes, I'm Cadillac Dixon. I'm the Drama Life Prison Wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice. Hoping, because you gotta hold your breath for justice. To see justice before all face to Blake. Yes, his your girl Cadillac. Anyways, I had been all the way, like literally in grandmama mode. I welcome my grandson to this world, yes, and so I have just been kind of off of here, but this brought me back to my channel today. I woke up this morning and I was going back to my TikTok. I literally have not even been working on my TikTok, girl. So I went on my TikTok and I seen that someone had left me a comment on a video of someone that was wrongfully convicted, wrongfully incarcerated for he was 35 years old. I got to find out his name and do his story. But 35 years old and spent 20 of those 35 years behind bars wrongfully. Y'all know, y'all tell me wrongful convictions don't happen. That if someone's in prison, they had to deal with what they did. That they don't just lock up the wrong person. And that the jury ain't just gonna find you guilty. 12 jurors just gonna find you guilty just to be mean? They can't attach no weapon to you if they don't have it. They can't charge you. They ain't got no evidence. They ain't got no witness. They can't do that, but yet they do it. And many people are wrongfully incarcerated right now. Many have been exonerated, but for that number that have been exonerated, you have got to do that to the exponent exponentially. That is how many that are still behind bars wrongfully, because it is hard as jail to break a wrongful conviction story. So, because it is looking like my journey of breaking my husband's story is kind of for naught, like literally for naught, like I did it for nothing, because 22 years and he still ain't no ways home, you know what I'm saying? So I do other people's stories. I do what I wish others would have been able to help me with, would have been able to help me break the story. I just literally had it up. What? This is the devil. Now, where is it? We're going to read a change petition. So we're helping on the outside. We're not waiting till the person gets home to say, oh man, how could they do that? Oh, they shouldn't have, somebody should have did something to help him. Look, we finna help right now. We can. We're finna actually read the change petition, and then we are going to, I already signed the petition, but I'm sharing it with you guys so that it can further this person's mission. I don't know how to get back to it though. Okay, let's Google his name. Lewis. Let's put in change. This is the devil, because I literally just had the link already open because I wanted to go straight into it. Okay, so change petition. Lewis Matthews. Let's see if it comes up. That's WordPress. Let's see if I put change.org on the back of it, if it would find it. No, it needs to have Lewis Matthews. I don't want to have to stop. I'm literally going to have to stop this live to go back to TikTok if it doesn't find it. This is crazy. Okay, I know she had exonerate. Let's put that word in there. Let's see if that will find it. This is crazy. Like, it literally, I was ready to go. Okay, exonerate Lewis Matthews. Wrongfully convicted, but it's completely leaving out. Okay, so it's showing me a Facebook page. Let's go to the Facebook page. Yes, this is the same one. Okay. We need 22,000 more to hit 50K. I checked out the petition. They already hit 50K. They're on their way to 75,000 signatures. Please take some time to sign the petition and share. It meant the world to Lewis. Okay, let's click on that. And now it should take me to the petition. Yes, here we are. CW did not win. Okay. Lewis's case is moving forward, 2024. The Innocence Project has spent the last several years investigating Lewis's claims of innocence and has found adequate proof to support him. This is why there has been little movement on his account and social media presence has been quieter than normal. His advocates have taken a breather. Girl, I fought for my husband for the last 22 years. I would love to take a breather. But baby, the minute you stop, it's so hard to break a wrongful conviction case that you can never stop. You need to devote every day, all the time to it. And in my case, the time's gone. So literally like, you can't stop, right? But they're saying they have taken a breather, like I need a breather. While the professionals began the real work, they have now concluded their investigation. The Innocence Project has gathered more than enough new and old evidence to support a motion for a new trial, Rule 30. This will be presented to the Commonwealth within the next 2 months' time. Lewis's case will be headed by two great attorneys from there, and they are hopeful to have him before the courts by the year's end. Oh my God. Could you only imagine? I could only imagine. I'm like Tamala Man, girl. Throughout his journey, the support of people like you has been everything to Lewis. He has been so appreciative and thankful to you all. Without your support, continued encouragement, and advice, this could not have been possible. Thank you for everything that you have done. Lewis sends his love and gratitude. He is beyond thankful to you all. Thank you sincerely. The last thing to say is that DNA is a beautiful thing. It never lies. Lewis's case is one of a wrongful conviction from I'm going to mispronounce this. Mashpee, Massachusetts. A man named Scott Turner was brutally bludgeoned and murdered. Unfortunately, Lewis was convicted and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, despite there being no actual physical evidence tying him to the crime. Now, I study wrongful convictions. Most times there's a wrongful conviction, there is no evidence. There's no physical evidence. That's key red flag number one. When there's no evidence in the case, we need to research this case some more. But it always tends, like when you hear these stories past tense, once the person's been exonerated, let out, the flags were always there. It is so hard to break through the stigma. It is so hard to get a voice. It is so hard to be heard, to be to get your story in front of who you need to. And then the system itself is not fair at all. It's not just, it's like an oxymoron, really. So it's hard to break these stories. But once they break these stories and you look back over the case and you're like, wow, nobody caught that. Like, nobody seen that this made no sense. There's usually no physical evidence in almost every case that I have studied for wrongful conviction. There's usually no evidence. Okay, so that should be red flag number one. We might have the wrong person. But now that means somebody lost their life. And for the last however long that Mr. Lewis Matthews has been in prison and still incarcerated, that means that person did not receive justice. Because the person that truly did that to him is out here free, unless he did it to someone else and he's in prison now for it, you know? So you're not bringing justice to that family. So two families are being done unjustly. The one whose family you have snatched their loved one from, their family is being unjustly done, plus them. When someone goes to prison, they take their whole family with them. I'm in prison with my husband wrongfully, right? And you've also, the victim, you have not given them closure and you have hurt them because you did not give them the correct justice. So on both sides, this is why we should all care, but most of us don't. We take that higher than thou, holier than thou stance, and we sit high and we look down low, and then we judge rather than listen to the facts and the evidence. Okay, so read Lou's full story. This site is undergoing a makeover, June 24, 2024. I really need to make, do some edits, get some new signatures on my husband's petition before they shut mine down. This is my second change petition, and it has been, I started it, the new one in 2020, and change.org only gets you so long to get to your threshold, or they'll shut down your petition. So before my husband's petition gets shut down and I lose I think I'm at 1,500 something. Before I lose those signatures, I literally need to get my husband's back moving and going before they shut it down and not start all over. Okay, we know that Scott Turner was having an affair with a woman named Lisa. Oh, I can't say that. Brundage. As recently 5 days before his outing. Like outing. Like, we can't even say what we need to say on YouTube. Okay, this is problematic because Lisa was involved in a relationship with a man named Thomas Winter. Tom threatened to out Scott Turner in the days leading up to his demise. I'm trying to fill in the blanks with words I can't use. Okay, he lived on the street where Scott was outed or murked. He had no alibi and was never investigated by police for this murking. He pleaded the fifth when called to Louis' trial. Louis' trial, yes. Jurors never even knowing the reason he was there. Yes, they withhold much information that the jury needs to make a sound decision. So that's why a lot of times they're like, you sat before 12 jurors. How did they get it wrong? Well, the jurors are not given all the puzzle pieces. That is like, I make analogies all the time. That's like back in the day, back in my stone age, when we used to use maps to actually drive from here to another state. And it's like the person who sold me the map strategically cut holes in it. I could possibly end up at the right destination, or I could be thrown off because you made these holes in this map. Same thing with the case. They don't present everything needed for the jury to be able to make a sound decision. So the jury is given a case full of holes, and you can't really make a sound decision with like many of the main components needed taken out deliberately. deliberately withheld from them. Okay. He had no alibi, was never investigated by police for his murking. For this murder. Girl, my throat. He pleaded the fifth when called to Louis' trial. Jurors never even knowing the reason he was there. Unfortunately, Lisa Brundage was brutally beaten to being unalive just 6 weeks after Scott by Tom. She was murked in the same manner as Scott. There are also other suspects in this case with mountains more evidence with what was contrived, yes, against Louis. Notably, there is no eyewitnesses against Louis. They can convict you without eyewitness evidence, everything. They don't need none of that. They only need one person saying, you did it, and then you could be gone. Okay. Additionally, Louis had an alibi corroborated by the victim's sister in trial. Louis does not have a motive. Louis did not have the victim's blood on his person, clothing, or where he was. The murk scene was covered in blood, as the perpetrator would have been as well. The victim nor murk weapon had Louis' DNA or blood on them. But whose did it have? Like, they don't give you all the pieces you need. Okay, I invite you to listen to an 8-minute podcast about his case. Ooh, let's listen. You may also read about his case and investigative report done by the Mashpee Enterprise. Check out the latest news here about our rally to exonerate Louis Matthews from 3/16/2020. Misconduct, Brady violation, ineffective assistance of counsel. This is a big thing that will get you tied up in wrongfully convicted. That's how one of the components to my husband's wrongful conviction, ineffective counsel. Ineffective counsel comes in because we're not millionaires. We don't have money sitting aside for the unaffordable lawyers. So we take the lawyer, when they say if you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be provided for you. It's one BSA lawyer that will be provided for you that actually works for us, but we're going to spin it like they're working for you. They don't have your best interest. Their interest is to the state first, right? You come way down the line. So they're not interested in helping you prove your case, really. So many wrongful convictions are because the person that is accused does not have the correct legal representation, and legal representation is not obtainable for anybody that is like middle class or below. Not really. Miracles do happen, but most cannot afford justice. Okay. Louis' trial, his lawyer did not call 4 people who were ready to testify about threats made to the victim by 2 different people. Okay, guys, so I might have to tie this up soon because I have to go somewhere with my family. But let me finish. Let me see. So I'm almost done reading, and we'll just listen to that podcast, and then we'll get out of here. But I love to give my commentary, my 2 cents. I've lived through this, and I can tell you more than what these articles would tell you, because articles could be biased. They either side with one side or the other, just as the case is biased. What they do is they exclude Anything that could be in your favor, they kind of delete that and just put anything I'm probably saying that wrong, inculpatory. Girl, I'm not the best like when it comes to words, but I know what I'm saying, girl. Any evidence that is basically it could be that you might have done it, they'll present all of that. But exculpatory evidence, like they're saying the people that would have testified, the evidence that could have proved you did not do it, how they leave it out. This is what DNA does now. DNA is now newfound exculpatory evidence. It probably was other things that was exculpatory evidence that was actually leading you to this person didn't do it. But they could dispute it, right? They could say, "Nah, that's too far fetched. Oh no, there's no way. You're reaching. This has to be it, right?" But DNA, you cannot do that. DNA is definite. You know what I'm saying? So now this is an exculpatory evidence that you can't really refute. Okay, but they love to do that. They give you one side of the case. Okay, at Louis' trial, his lawyer did not call four people who were ready to testify about threats made to the victim by two different people or the actions of certain folks following Scott's murking, including bleaching their clothes. Several new witnesses have come forward, including the crucial witness whose testimony is jarring and exonerates Louis. We cannot divulge that information until it is notarized and sealed. Prosecutors hid DNA findings. Oh, so they had the DNA. Girl, so a lot of these cases are old to where they had DNA, but they weren't testing it like that. So now people are coming back and getting exonerated off of that. Possibly. Okay, findings and exculpatory evidence that implicates, I just told y'all that before we even got to it. Exculpatory evidence that implicates the state witnesses. The state witness, they also hid crucial evidence that was found at the crime scene. Mashpee police suppressed statements made by the public about those involved in the crime and their actions the day Scott's body was discovered. Louis did not have the victim's DNA or blood on his person, his clothing, his shoes, and items he touched, or the items he touched. This is most definitely a case of wrongful conviction, and I am asking Louis for his mother who did not make it through her illness to see her son exonerated. Boy, that's sad because that's all you really want. You wake up every day just, is this the day it finally breaks and I can let this torch, this part of my life go. I don't have to get up every day just battling for my loved one to come home. I can actually live in my purpose. I can live my life. I can do things I was supposed to be doing rather than being stuck. It's not a stuck because you don't want to be, fighting for your loved one. It's because you clearly had other things you could have been doing, but because they've taken your loved one wrongfully, you can't do nothing till they get home, right? So she passed in that state, wanting her son. Just, can you imagine? You know your son's innocent. And every day you're just, is he ever coming home? Am I ever going to see him beyond those gates? And you passed before. That's sad. Please sign this petition. Louis is fighting tirelessly through the courts. The courts, though that's the place for justice, you ain't finna get no justice there. Most times. Justice costs this. Get us some green, we might can talk. Right? That's what every lawyer gonna tell you. Okay. Louis is fighting tirelessly through the courts and an entire community behind him. With an entire community behind him. He deserves to be heard. We are asking if you will listen. We are asking if you too will support him in his time of need. We are asking you to read, research, and join in advocating for Louis. He is a humble man with nothing to hide. waiting for his day to be heard. Please like, share, follow Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, blog. I found this story of him on TikTok. So now let's listen really quickly to the, oh, that's the wrong one. That's the blog post. No, go back, go back. She said it was an 8 minute, well, the writer of the, there it is, podcast. Let's hear this and then we're going to go. But this is why I do this. I mean, it feels like, sometimes it does feel like what I've done is for nothing, because my husband's no closer to being coming home. The only way he's closer is because he served 22 years wrongfully, right? So he served more than half of his wrongful sentence. That's the only thing that has gotten him closer to home. We have raised our daughter from 9 months to now through prison visits when we should not have. We should have raised her with him in the house at home as a family unit. My daughter needed her father. And because she did not have her father physically, my daughter has holes in her heart. She has things that she's still dealing with by her father being snatched from her. But we raised our daughter together through prison visits all over the backwoods of Florida. And expensive calls. They make so much money off of this detriment of our families. They make hand over fist type money off of this stuff. So that is the way we raised our daughter together. And my husband will not be free from his wrongful conviction until our 2-year-old granddaughter is almost 17 years old. That is 2 lifetimes they have taken from my husband wrongfully. And I fight daily and I am ignored daily. Nobody gives a damn, right? So because my fight has been in vain, I can't let all that time in my life, all that work, all that artwork I've done go in vain. So I fight for other people. I help other people further their stories. Okay, so now let's listen. And then I gotta go. Let's see. Turn it up. It's all the way up. Trying to get it to play. Or it won't play.
Tomorrow, the family of Ashby man convicted of murder in 2005 will hold a vigil in Hyannis. They want to call attention to the case of Louis Matthews, who was sentenced to life in prison for the brutal killing of his friend, Scott Turner. Turner was last seen with Matthews leaving a bar in Mashpee on a June night in 2004. Turner's body was found the next morning, a few houses away from where Matthews spent the night. Police picked up Matthews as a suspect and ended up charging him with murder.
How are you?
Both Matthews and his family say he is innocent. They say crucial details were overlooked at the time of the trial that led to his conviction. And now new witnesses are coming forward, and an Innocence Project is looking into the case. The Mashpee Enterprise recently published an in-depth story explaining the night of the murder and highlighting some of the details Matthews' family say should be looked at once again. WCAI's Karen Ident talked with reporter Jessica Hill about some of those details.
Good morning, Jessica. Hi. As so many crime stories are, this is a story that has a lot of details. The prosecution at the time said Matthews was guilty of killing Turner by beating him over the head due to evidence they say included traces of blood on Matthews' clothing and some blood at the crime scene, of course, and on the body. And by disputing some of the details in Matthews' story, Matthews' family has maintained his innocence all along. What are some of the developments or some of the pieces of this story that you looked at that Matthews' family thinks warrant a new trial?
So I think the first one, and probably one of the more important ones, is the fact that prosecution used inconclusive DNA in the case. And this is actually allowed when the defense argues an ineffective investigation, then prosecution is allowed to use inconclusive DNA evidence during the trial. So all of the samples that were collected and tested tested positive for blood, but they could not confirm whose blood it was in most parts. So that's one of the big things that Louis' family has argued, because nothing really physically has tied them together. One thing that I brought up in my article was the possibility of a third party, and this is something that Louis' family has argued with the case of Tom Winter. About a few weeks after Scott Turner was killed, another woman was killed. The woman was named Lisa Brundage, and she was dating Scott Turner and also Thomas Winter.
And police at the time, or the prosecution at the time, tied Matthews to the murder because Scott Turner and Louis Matthews were friends. Leaving a bar was one of the last times Turner was seen alive. But now it looks like, especially with some of the reporting in your story, there are maybe some holes with Louis' family saying that he can be accounted for in all of those hours where Scott Turner was beaten and then later found dead in the morning, right?
Right. So Linda Turner, Scott's sister, pins Louis in the house around 4 a.m., and she also comes out again at 6 a.m. And meanwhile, at 152 Ninigret, which is where Scott's body is later found, an elderly woman who lives there looks out the window around 4 and doesn't see anything. And a newspaper delivery doesn't see anything. So if the body is placed there after that, then it couldn't have been Louis because he was in the house. However, the elderly lady and also the newspaper delivery man might not have seen the body because it was dark. So.
And his family has said that there is a racial component to this case because Matthews
usually always a racial component.
Can you talk a little bit more about that element in the story?
They target us.
So in the trial, the jury was all white. However, during the case, they were asked, will the fact that the defendant is Cape Verdean and the victim is white, will that affect your bias in any way? Will you be biased, or will that affect any of your verdicts? Everyone said no. However, I did talk to the director of the Racial Justice Program at
Hold on a second. I gotta say something about that. Pause. Okay. So they said because they asked the jury because the jury is all white and that the victim is also white and the defendant is of another ethnicity, will that affect your verdict in any way? And they verbally said no. But what you don't realize is that we have implicit bias. All humans have implicit bias where they become biased and they don't even know that they're doing it. They already have assumptions about certain other groups. So whether they consciously would make a decision off of his race, if that would consciously play a factor, it could very well unconsciously be a component that they use to convict him. Implicit bias. Yes. And that plays a lot in our justice system.
In a black man's verdict.
So now the police and the district attorney's office, which prosecuted the case, didn't exactly have a lot to say to you.
And at this, black men lead in wrongful convictions.
But you did talk to a retired police officer who was part of the case at the time.
Yes, briefly. He didn't say a whole lot with me because he wanted me to talk to the Massachusetts State Police. But he basically just said that it seemed like a clear-cut case at the time. Louis was the last person to be with Scott, and that was just like such a direct correlation.
So that meant don't investigate nothing else?
You spent a lot of time on this story, and this is a long story. It goes into all the details. What prompted you and your editor to put something like this together in something like the Mashpee Enterprise?
A few months ago, I saw a post on one of the Mashpee Facebook pages that I have been following, and I didn't know anything about this case, and it didn't seem like anyone else knew.
It's hard to break these cases.
So I started researching it. I went to the courthouse and read some of the documents and saw this huge, long list of this man kind of just pleading and appealing verdicts and just trying to get his case appealed.
It doesn't work through the system.
And contacted the family, read the 828-page court transcript.
Wow. Yeah.
And during this whole time, I wasn't sure if we'd be able to publish the whole thing. It might have been, a couple thousand words. or it could have been 5,000 words, which is how it ended up being. So I was really happy with how it turned out, and that the editors let me publish it all.
Were there any surprises in this reporting for you?
Yes. Probably the biggest surprise and probably the biggest disappointment was that I couldn't find any of Scott Turner's family to talk to. I reached out, and maybe they didn't see it, but no one responded.
But you've gotten some feedback since this story has been published.
Yes, mostly positive. I did hear from one of Scott Turner's family members. It was all off the record, unfortunately.
And the case is actually getting some attention off Cape, right? The Committee for Public Counsel Services.
That is the only way you are going to break a wrongful conviction. You're not going to usually do it through the court system. You can have grounds to appeal. You can have grounds for ineffective counsel. They don't care. Once that gavel hits that desk, it's over. As far as they're concerned, it's over. Any motions you submit, usually it's like they probably ball that up and just throw that out. Yeah, whatever. And the judge just sides with the lower court judge. That's the whole purpose of pleading something new to a higher court, but they literally just usually side with the lower court. Like, what's the purpose in that? But the only way you're really going to break these stories is you're going to have to break the story yourself in the media. And that's what I was told by ACLU almost a decade ago. Only hope he has is that you break his case in the media. And that's why I've been on Facebook. The only reason I have a Facebook, and I've had one since 2008. The only reason I had a MySpace. Only reason I had, this is my third YouTube channel. Only reason I have this channel. The only reason I've been on TikTok is to break my husband's case. That still ain't broken. But that is usually the only way you're going to get traction in these cases.
This case was prosecuted by a public defender, is that right?
Correct, yes.
Public defender is the fastest way to go to prison.
Innocence Project. However, Louis' cousin reached out and they said that because Louis' case is with public defenders, they can't take that. So she did find out recently that the public defenders, they have their own Innocence Project. And they have just started to take a look at the case.
Wow, that's nice.
And they also have some new leads coming up. They recently hired a private investigator, and some new witnesses are coming forward.
That's
interesting. Do you think
interesting.
this case has any kind of bigger significance, either for the region or just in general?
I definitely think it speaks to the current state of the United States justice structure.
It's been like
Rashawn
this.
D. Hall, the
This is
director
not
of the
new.
Racial Justice
It's been
Program
like
in
this.
ACLU, said that since the time of slavery through destruction and Jim
Since
Crow
then,
to mass incarceration
been-
rates.
I'm sorry, guys. Let's wrap this up. That's my bad. She wondering where I'm at. But I will link all of that. It's your girl, Cadillac. I'm sorry. Gotta cut it short.